It's been a lot of action today on Ukraine and a lot of news. And because yesterday, as we know, and I suspected was going to happen anyway, the Budapest summit was canceled. If you had watched what the Russians were saying the day before, they were all singing from the same hymn book, whether it was Shugo or Peskov or anything coming out of Russia, even Solovov on his crazy show, were all talking from the same songbook, and there was no way that they were going to come to a summit. It was clear at that point. And then today, finally, Trump admitted, yes, it's not going to happen. There are no plans, and he's not going to waste his time with this. So that's just the beginning. So I wanted to just have a quick update today because there is so much news. And I think that we do need to start paying attention again to Ukraine because I think things are going to escalate. And I do think that we're going to have this, who knows, this really could be the start of World War III. And Putin is getting rough. So some of the headlines today are, and we'll go into it a little deeper, is Putin's called up 5,500 reservists today to help in their country because of all the attacks on their oil rigs and everything else. I'm not sure what the reservists are going to do to save the oil rigs, but and the oil infrastructure, but they're calling them up. So that's the first time they're doing it, and they are under contract versus just being mobilized, which has a different status for them, and they get paid quite well for doing that. So I wanted to just let's take a look at everything happening today. First of all, I wanted to share with you what John Bolton has to say about this whole thing.
Doesn't think he can reach a settlement on Ukraine, or at least a ceasefire that gives him a shot at the Nobel Peace Prize next year. He's going to pull back away from it. Now, I hope that he continues the program of selling weapons and ammunition to Europeans to give to Ukraine. I hope that he continues the supply of intelligence, which is critical and which really U.S. alone is capable of doing. And I hope he comes back to the idea of providing tomahawks with Ukraine. Yeah. But I hope at least this time people will understand he's not going to be for Ukraine at any point. He still thinks his friend Vladimir Putin could come through to him. What he really wants is to get out without people thinking he's a loser.
Yeah, I mean, I happen to think that John Bolton is right on with that. He does not ever want to be seen as a loser. And, I do think at some point, and John didn't touch on this, will he be so angry at Trump? Will Trump be so angry at Putin that he really does turn it around? Of course, it's still for him to save face, but will he send those tomahawks? Will he get involved a little bit more? Will he, not abandon his plan about where the U.S. is selling things to Ukraine, but maybe actually start gifting Ukraine just like Biden did? Because it might just be needed and the right thing to do. Meanwhile, let's talk about what happened overnight in Ukraine, because it's just that's okay. So this next video that we're going to watch is from Professor Darren Gerdes, and it's called Professor Gerdes Explains, and he does a deep dive a couple times a day about the Ukraine war, and he really, of course, is a huge supporter of Ukraine, and he really goes into detail and explains what's going on. And a lot happened last night, and as things are picking up and Russia's becoming a lot more aggressive, I think we need to start paying attention. I'll try to put his information down below in the description so you can take a look at his channel. He does a really good job.
Yeah, there was a lot, and they targeted Kyiv and they targeted Kharkiv and a few other areas pretty hard, and including Odessa. Overnight attack on Zaporizhia caused widespread destruction across the city. 15 apartment buildings. Listen to the list of what is being targeted. 15 apartment buildings, private homes, non-residential structures were damaged. 13 people sought medical attention, including 2 children. 120 residents have reported housing damage. Okay, so I kind of get going after the power grid, Going after civilians in their home while they're sleeping, that's a whole different story. And then when you think it couldn't get any worse, Russia hits a Kharkiv kindergarten full of children with 3 Shahed drones. And it's worse than that. And I'll show you how it's worse than that in just a moment. Here's Zelensky talking about it. Russian drones hit a kindergarten in Kharkiv after a massive overnight attack. Unfortunately, 1 person has been killed. My condolences to the bereaved family. There's no justification for a drone strike on a kindergarten, nor can there ever be. Clearly, Russia is growing more brazen. These strikes are Russia's spit in the face to everyone who insists on a peaceful resolution. So, yes, and it gets worse. Russian drones targeted a kindergarten in Kharkiv. 1 person was killed with at least 5 injured, but to targeting kindergarten when? During busy morning school hours. Busy morning school hours. This wasn't overnight. This was during the day. That's what Russians were doing, targeting a kindergarten with multiple drones. It's not like they didn't know what they were doing. They did. They clearly knew.
Such a monster, Putin and his people. It's just horrible, attacking a kindergarten. How can you morally even explain that? It's just horrible. Anyway, let's move on, and we're going to share. As I said, they did a call up today of the reservists, so we're going to listen to that. It's the same guy on a different video explaining.
Ever been watching and wondering, like, are Ukrainians actually having an impact on Russia with their deep strikes and that sort of thing? I mean, I cover it every day. They are. Putin just called up reservists precisely because of the effect that the Ukrainians are having with deep strikes behind Russian lines. Here we go. This is really, really interesting. I didn't see this one coming, and here it is. Greg Terry translated it. He's the one that flagged my attention to it. The Russians aren't making a big wave of this. They are announcing it, but they're not really pushing it out into the ether, right? I didn't see it in any of my feeds. He saw it. Let's listen to this.
Since the Ukrainian militants are using longer range drones more effectively and more often, and they are striking our territory in the Russian Federation, the threat of our critical infrastructure and the danger of it has increased. So we need to increase the level of security for our infrastructure objects and also for our civilians. Therefore,
have you noticed that, like, a lot of things don't get shot down and they just keep tagging this oil refinery or that warehouse or that factory or whatever? Just like every day you see something like that. Yeah. So they need to have proper air defense behind Russian lines 1,000 kilometers back. And this is what's going on.
A decision has been made to involve the most prepared and patriotic citizens to ensure the security of our civilian objects that are located deep inside Russia. And according to the law on military service, reservists are citizens who are in military reserve, have willingly signed a contract about being in that rear reserve. It's important not to confuse them with active soldiers on active duty. The main difference is
he doesn't want to make a big production of doing a military call up, but he's doing a military call up. He's calling up the reservists, and they're going to stay within Russia, but they're now in harm's way of being blown up by Russian drones and Ukrainian drones and Ukrainian missiles.
Combining being in the reserve while being able to work your full-time job in civilian capacity. A reservist is not full military. They also have the life of a regular civilian. Rear reservists have completed all of their military training, and now they will willingly sign a contract about being in the rear reserve. And the project of the law clarifies that they can be sent to special training to defend the energy objects, transport objects, oil refineries, and other infrastructure facilities only on the territory of their home region. First of all, we need help counteracting drones.
Yeah, so they're going to be, there's a big reserve call up to counter the threat that is Ukrainian drones and missiles that are hitting deep inside Russia. How about that? You didn't see?
And that's a good thing. I mean, not the reservists, but they're hitting deep into Russia. And if they got those Tomahawks, they could even hit harder and further, which we really need to keep pushing. So there is another piece of good news today on the Ukraine front. There is talk, which I didn't cover here, of using the Russian frozen assets and giving Ukraine 100, I think they said it was 120 or 130 billion dollars for their budget next year out of the frozen assets in Europe and the couple of countries. And that's being discussed in one of the European councils today. But this was really good news and very interesting. It's not going to happen immediately, but it's going to have a big impact ultimately. Sweden has agreed to sell and to give 150 Gripen fighters over the next, I guess it's 5 years. Obviously, 150 planes don't get delivered right away. So we're going to listen to this for just about a minute or so. And have Dennis, he does a really good job also explaining what's happening in Ukraine every day. He's a pilot that used to fly commercial, and he was from Ukraine and left when the war started.
Hello, my friends. You see what is happening. There is Zelensky, a president of Ukraine, who went to Sweden today, and there is the Swedish Prime Minister on his left. And behind there is a well-recognized Gripen fighter jet. Awesome, fantastic airplane, especially the newest modification, which is called JAS 39 Gripen version E. So this E modification is the newest one. The fighter jet is made by Saab company, and Ukraine is willing to get around 150 of those units. From 100 till 150, it's the initial information we have obtained from this meeting. So blue and yellow help blue and yellow, and you might say it's the fantastic news. I agree with you, it's awesome, but there is always a big but. So at first it's the initial document that was signed, so it's just the very, very beginning of this entire very long process for Ukraine to obtain those fighter jets. They cannot respawn them just like that from their factories and present to Ukraine. It is physically not possible. Yeah, by the way, we have those pictures tweeted by the Sweden embassy in Ukraine, kind of the funny meme pictures. Everything is awesome around those news, except that Ukraine will have to wait years and years even for the first delay of the first airplane. While Zelensky was more optimistic about Gripens, he stated that maybe Ukraine might obtain those the next year, but again, it is not possible. And the Swedish Prime Minister confirmed that. He stated that Ukraine might obtain the first aircraft from this contract not earlier than in 3 years.
So that's where that stands. Maybe something will happen. They'll give them a few of them, in less than 3 years. But I know they're keeping them for themselves. Last but not least, that is really important today is that Mark Rutte, who is head of NATO right now, is actually, as I'm recording this, is meeting at 4 o'clock, it said, with Trump in the Oval Office to discuss. Here he was at Congress earlier today talking about it and talking about speaking to reporters after a meeting with a bipartisan group of senators on Capitol Hill. The NATO Secretary, Mark Rutte, said he had complete confidence in Donald Trump's ability to broker peace between Ukraine and Russia. He evaded a question about whether he was concerned that the president had persuaded Volodymyr Zelensky to go softer on Russia. He's the only one that can get this done, Rutte said. You have a president with a lot of experience because of his first term in office and who has a clear vision of bringing this war to a durable and lasting end. Rutte will meet with Trump in a few hours. We will discuss further how we from NATO can be helpful in delivering his vision from getting a full-scale peace in Ukraine, which of course we all pray for this enormous success. So they're meeting right now. Of course, there's going to be a lot of talk about a lot of things, weapon systems, tomahawks, the whole bit. But today was just a very busy day. Things are changing in the war, and I think that they're going to get a lot hotter in the next couple of months. Putin has no desire whatsoever to stop this war right now. He has no intention, and he's been very clear about that now. And he's, to hit a kindergarten is just, I don't have words. It's so disgusting. But we need to pay a lot of attention to this. So please like and subscribe. It really makes a difference for the channel. And I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.